Hey everyone, it's the Deafening Whisper. I'm going to do a video just talking about squash today, as it was requested by Non-Blonde Whispers, and it's excuse me, hopefully it'll be fairly easy for me to talk about, as it's something I really enjoy and helps keep me sane. So yeah, squash is a game where you use a racket and a ball, and you hit it up and down the wall with an opponent to try and win points. Now when I say using a ball, there are lots of different types of balls that you can use, such as the big blue dot ball, which is bigger than your average squash ball and bounces like a power ball, and is used for like beginners and people who have never played before, as it doesn't need to be warmed up and it's easier to hit, so it's just to get people used to a bit of hand-eye coordination, which is surprisingly difficult if you've never done it before. Then you've got the red dot, which is pretty much like the blue dot but standard size and bounces just as much. Then the single yellow dot, which is fairly bouncy and the standard size, and then the double yellow dot, which is standard size and not that bouncy at all, and the double yellow is the competition and team standard ball to use. And I prefer playing with that ball myself, but that's what we have to use, so I guess if we had to use a different one I'd get used to that and prefer that one. But yeah, and there's also the blue dot, I believe it is, which doesn't bounce that much. It bounces less than the double yellow dot, but is used for places of higher altitude, such as Johannesburg, where the air is thinner, so even though it's a slower ball in the thinner atmosphere, it bounces a lot more. But I've only ever come across one of them once, and it's not good to play with on British courts. And the rackets that they come, they're all a standard size, or at least a standard racket head size. But you can get some that are bridged, which usually give a more powerful head, and you get some that are not bridged, and I don't use the bridged one, and they're better for accuracy. But I can get more than enough power out my swing alone without needing that little bit extra from the racket. Generally a bridged racket will have a bigger sweet spot, which is the area where the ball should hit. So of course a bigger sweet spot means more power. Now the rackets can be strung fairly tight or loose depending on what you like, and personally I prefer a tighter string. And I'm a bit annoyed that I forgot to mention that when I took my racket in to be restrung a few weeks back, and I'm not impressed with the string on it or how tight it is at all. So as soon as payday comes round I'm planning on breaking that string, excuse me, and getting someone else to restring it how I like it. Yeah, so the basic rules of squash are you have to hit it in between certain red lines, and it can't bounce more than once. And it's kind of hard for me to explain all the different shots that can be used in the game. I'd have to maybe record a few little clips and post them up in a montage to show all the different shots, but the basic idea is to knock the ball as tightly as you can up one of the side walls, back and forth between your opponent until they hit a loose shot that enables you to either attack it or change where the ball's going. But not everyone plays to the same type my ability to win comes from how fit I am, the reach I have, and my shot selection, I suppose, knowing what shot to play, and the variation in my game, as people aren't sure what I'm going to do with the ball next, as a lot of people are easy to read what they're going to do, as they have a similar shot over and over again, whereas I try and mix it up so that my opponent doesn't know where I'm going to put the ball. And it can be played with more than two people as well. There's double squash, which is very dangerous, as I nearly took someone's eye out before, which was my fault, by the way. I may have mentioned this before, but yeah, I nearly took someone's eye out playing a doubles match, but that was his own fault. And if I'm honest, I thought it was quite funny, because how it happened, I don't know what on earth he was thinking to put his head in the way of my swinging racket, but there you go. But you can, there are all different numbers of made-up games that you can play with different people, and you don't usually play them all the time. Usually only on like social events you'll play those type of games. Usually on when you arrange a match or club matches, then you play standard just two people. But playing with more than two people can be quite fun as well, as there's a bit more competition in it, and more often than not they're faster games. So yeah, a lot of people think squash is easy. I had an argument in work the other day where they said squash is dying, which it kind of is. I mean, there aren't that many young people playing it, and I said the reason for that is because it's a hard game to pick up. You can't pick up a squash racket and instantly be good at it. I mean, you can if you've played tennis or, you know, a similar type of sport which needs hand-eye coordination, but it's not like football where generally anyone can kick a football about to a degree. You know, you can go out with your mates into a park and have a bit of a kick about. Squash isn't like that. Much the same as tennis and what have you. But yeah, they didn't quite agree with me, which is fine, but I bet anyone who's never picked up a racket before couldn't just pick up a racket and hit a squash ball. And my brother said to me before that it looked easy, so I said, come on, go with me, and we'll knock a ball back and forth. And he could barely hit the ball. He missed it 100 times more than he actually hit the ball. And when he came off, he said, oh, it's harder than it looks, which it is. But it can also be quite a dangerous sport for people who don't know how to play or the rules. Like, I watched two guys on court this week while I was waiting for a court to open up for me to play, and how on earth they didn't hit each other, I have no idea. It was scary watching them. As you, in squash, you have rules called lead and stroke. A lead is if, say, both of you bump into each other, or the ball hits the back wall and you spin on the spot ready to hit the ball, you call a lead, because you don't know where the opponent is and you don't want to pick him up the arse or anything with the ball, as that fucking hurts. I've never experienced more pain in my life than being hit on the arse by a squash ball, and what made it worse for me was he managed to catch me right in the middle with it. There was a massive circular bruise, which looked like someone had been trying to rape me, pretty much. I couldn't go in the shower at the gym for a good week after that, for what people might have thought. And God, it dropped me to my knees. I mean, I saw stars and my eyes were watering. The pain was incredible. I've never felt pain like that before. But yeah, swinging their rackets and getting in the way is quite dangerous. And you also have two scoring systems. You have American scoring, where every rally wins a point regardless of who serves in, and you have handout scoring, where you can only score a point when it's your turn to serve. Now, American scoring is up to which is 3 points, and with handout scoring, which is standard through much of Britain, except for juniors and Premier League players. You can either choose to play 1 point or 2 points. And generally, 2 points is what you go for, but sometimes you can unsettle an opponent by choosing 1 point. But that's backfired on me before, and I nearly lost the match because of it. So yeah, I'm trying to think if there's any more I can tell you about squash. It's a very underrated sport, but it's one that burns the most calories for the amount of time that you play. But because it's so challenging, it's not good for some older people with heart problems or what have you. It's pretty recommended that you don't play it if you got angina or heart disease of some form, because the stress it puts on your body is tremendous. And there's a general saying, you don't play squash to get fit, you get fit to play squash. But I kind of did both, so it worked out well for me. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and it's given you a bit more of an insight into squash as a sport. And if anyone fancies themselves or wants a bit of fancies giving it a try, pop down to your local club, as I'm sure they'll always be welcoming new people. And there is a very steep